So we are now recording, so if you don't wish to have your contributions recorded, go ahead and exit the meeting now and then watch our recording later on. But welcome to XRM Virtual. My name is Julie Yak. I have just a couple of quick announcements here. You are not interested in what I have to say. You want to hear Chuck. So we are recording. We'll post it to our events page later on. We'll tweet out the link when we have it posted. But share it with your friends and your loved ones and give them the benefit of all this wisdom that Chuck has to offer. We're always looking for speakers. This is Chuck's first time speaking to our group, and we've been a group for, I think we're 8 years or so, 9 years. I don't know. It's been a while. And so we're constantly looking for new speakers. If you're trying to get yourself more exposure and you have some great things to share, let us know. We'd love to help facilitate that and help you become a better speaker and help our membership become more educated. We've got a couple meetings on the calendar. If you are looking for a topic that you haven't seen recently, send me an email and we'll try to get that scheduled. If it's something you want to talk about, great. If you don't know who has that knowledge, let me know and we will find someone for you. We're usually pretty good about that. So with that, I'm going to say welcome, Chuck. If you'd like to know more about Mr. Sterling, have a look at his bio here. He has been with Microsoft for a while. I guess I could look at his bio myself.
No, I can do this. You know, it turns out I actually know a lot about me.
That's awesome, because then I don't have to.
And it's one of my favorite topics. No, actually, that's not true at all. But I just recently celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary, as I was telling Julie. I went to the Maldives, and my 25th Microsoft year of tenure. 25 years at Microsoft. And I recently heard an interesting statistic that maybe Sarah has heard, I don't know, that 1 out of every 4 25-year veteran at Microsoft is a millionaire. I also know the other 3 of us are bitter about it. So that actually should give you the tone of this meeting. It's going to be informal. It's going to be fun. And I think Julia's got my slides, so there's only like 1 or 2 slides. I'm going to have her advance them since she's actually already the presenter.
I can do that. So you'll notice that we're very conversational here. As Chuck said, we're very informal. So if you have questions for Chuck, come off of mute and ask them. If you don't have the ability to share audio, type them in the chat window or pull me in a private chat, and I'm happy to ask them on your behalf and interrupt Chuck, because I live to do things that frustrate Chuck.
And I'll take it on the peanut gallery. Marius is asking, I know he was tongue-in-cheek, the hardest part of my 25 years. Most of that tenure in any stretch was actually in support. So I was escalation engineer. I took, at one point, 145 Excel phone calls in a day. It's interesting when you actually do that level of support. You actually don't even have your computers on. Your eyes are closed and you're leaning back in your chair the whole time. I would say that the hardest part of my entire tenure is when we bought Fox Pro, and I was supporting Fox Pro. It wasn't a lot of fun. SQL Server escalation engineer, where all I did was server downs, would rank second. But there's a lot of Boy Scout in me. A lot of people wouldn't guess that, and I don't know. And get a lot of motivation out of knowing that I help people at the end of the day. So there you go. That's what I get out of it, and that's the hardest jobs. So next slide, if you could, my young Julie Yak. Okay, so what we're going to build is we're going to build this leaderboard. Actually, the one that we're looking at right here, it was done by an MVP named Wolfgang, and I actually do admin in a day courses, and I went out and said, hey, we're going to give everybody points as we go through this. And the first thing we need to do is go ahead and build a leaderboard so we can keep track of these points. I'm going to give 50 points to the first person that can build this leaderboard. And here's the components that you use. And I actually kind of laid them out. And I said, okay, one of you guns who can multitask or have ADHD and aren't listening to me anyways, you guys go out and build this. And I'm going to go out and start talking about the different administrative services. And Wolfgang in Dublin, he's a German with a name like Wolfgang. He's got to be German, but I don't know that he is. Raised his hand, I think about 11 minutes later, and said, I'm done. And this is what Wolfgang built. So we're going to build that. I'm not going to do it in 11 minutes. I'm not as good as he is, and I'm going to be talking. I'm going to show you different parts, but that's it. And I'll show you one working live in a second. Julie, if you can go to the next slide, we're going to go out and show you the 3 pieces that I actually had Wolfgang use. So the first one is, how do I actually get that the name and the points that that I'm doling out to these people, and that's actually PowerApps. And then the data is going into, in this case, a streaming data set. If we want to make it wired up to Twitter, we can do that as well. So we can actually go out and say, hey, Mary has just got 10 points, and Julie got 100 points for letting Chuck actually on her user group, or David Green gets 5 points for actually being quiet, whatever. And then to wire this all up, you know, the duct tape, if you will, is that Microsoft Flow. So those are the 3 parts. Okay, that's at the end of the slides, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and take over as presenter and share my screen. And I want you guys share your desktop. And
I didn't know that one slide had animation, Chuck. I wasn't sure that I signed up for animation clicking.
You know,
that was a lot to ask.
No. Well, what's kind of funny is I didn't know there was animation, because those are the slides that Wolfgang did for me as part of the MBA editor. So that makes 2 of us that didn't know there was animations. That's how much time I spent on the slides.
We can see your screen now.
Okay, so outstanding.
I'm going to go on mute.
So no, we don't want that. So how many points should we give Julie? Oh, actually, we already said we're going to give Julie, not July, Julie. We're going to give her 100 points for letting me be a member. So if I go out and hit submit, what we should see down here at the bottom is the word Julie. Where is she? She's right here, and she's above Adam Saxton, who's got 78, and Megan, who must have just kicked. Oh, Megan Langaloria. She's actually one of my MVPs who helped me actually deliver this, and she got every single one of these questions right. So we give her a bunch of points. Kai is the PM on the admin team. He was a pain in the ass, so I give him a bunch of negative points. Let's actually fix that, and we'll bring him back up to 0. Okay, so while this actually may be a little bit contrived, the idea of you going out and collecting data real time and putting it into some report through some database is iconic, right? It's every CRUD application on the planet that you need, and it's things that each of those 3 systems don't do well. In Power BI, you cannot collect data. It doesn't have this idea of round tripping. This is why we use PowerApps. And then take it from this PowerApp thing that says Store Tracker and putting it into a database so Power BI can use it is something that Flow does very, very well, but neither of these systems actually focus on that. So we're going to start from all the way from scratch. We're going to go out and create a brand new empty workspace. Workspaces, think of as a directory or just a container, and we'll call it XRM virtual. I need to actually put in one email. Okay, fair enough. What? Okay. There we go. We'll add this guy, whoever this guy is. All right. Now I've got my XRM virtual workspace, and I think create is here. There it is, right below my email. And yes, good presenters will always turn off their notifications. All right, I want just some sort of sample to go out and have a dashboard to start using. So samples, there we go. And I'll choose this one. Just to have some data to go out and take a look at and use. Okay, so now I'm going to click on my XRM virtual, and I'm going to go out and choose create, and we're going to start with where are we going to put this data. So it says streaming data set. I want it to show real time. There's 3 types of streaming data sets. I can go out and use Azure Stream Analytics if I actually want to have no constraints. I can push in as much data and I can do it from different databases. Azure Stream Analytics is the way. And Peter Myers did a great session at our local user group, and it's also online at MBAS if you want to take a look at the recording. PubNub is the canonical publish and subscribe. If you're a Java developer, it's not terribly difficult. If you're a C# guy, there's some complexities there. We're going to do the easiest one because I'm kind of a simple person. And we're going to call this one XRM virtual. time, real streaming set. And what do we want? We want probably the person who we're going to keep their score. And you're going to see that, let's spell it all out, that it only has 3 different data types for a streaming data set. It's another nice thing about Azure Stream Analytics. I can use the entire gamut of data types. But we want to have that one be text, maybe their score. We'll keep that as a number. If I wanted to track when for MBS, they wanted to know when all these people came in, so we can go out and track that. Maybe that make that date time. What else? Oh, you know, if I were going to push in data from different places, maybe I could go out and do source. And we'll just keep that as text. If you're watching, it's actually building this cool stuff at the bottom called JSON. I don't know if that's terribly important for you guys to know, but this is actually how, if I wanted to shove this in as a developer, so if David Yak were doing this, he would be very, very interested in this from like Python or C#. Now, right now, by not having this checked off or enabled, that data would just go into that streaming data set, and it would just be the last one in. I can just kind of look at the last one as it was coming in. I want to be able to look at all the records across the board. So, you know, if I wanted to do averages and aggregates and stuff, be able to access that. So we're going to go ahead and choose create. And then we'll create a report against this empty data set. So let's go ahead and grab that PowerShell while we're here. Let's see if I can copy that, and we'll get that in a second. And you'll see under my data sets, I should have one that's called XRM Virtual, and I'm going to go ahead and create a report for it. And I don't know, let's just have it have a card for right now. Where's card? I want just a card. And we're just going to go out and put the score in here. So the last score is going to be in there. And why is that blank? Julia Yak is happy dancing. Marius is smiling. Why is it blank, guys? I just want to see if you're asleep. I want someone to fog the mirror. Mike Busby? Shouldn't be a hard question. No one's typing. Everybody's dropped off, Julie. Can we end the call?
We didn't realize that we were going to be quizzed.
Oh, there was tests a part of this.
Yeah, nobody said that in advance. Ooh, we have an overachiever. We've got people typing now.
Okay, good. So Mario says he doesn't know. And the reason it's blank is because we haven't put any data in it. So, right, we created a brand new empty data set, and it just go ahead and show us all the data that's in that empty data set, and it says it's blank. You know, much like me on a Monday morning. It's just not a whole lot there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to type in PowerShell, and you didn't know this is going to be a PowerShell demo. I hadn't even thought about that either. And we're going to go out and paste in that PowerShell, and rather than actually having the person be AAAA555, oops. Let's do this. That's not what I want. I want paste. Okay. And can I click here? There we go. Oh, it did it again. CLS. Paste. It doesn't want me to type there. You hate me. All right, we're just going to leave it the way it is. So I'm going to run this. And what that did is that put that little JSON that I said not to worry about, and it put it in here. So if it's in there, it should stop saying blank if I do something called refresh. There we go. So now it's, where did we get that? In here, it should say 90.6 for the score. All right. So is PowerShell the way we want to do this? No. Do we want to do this from C#? No. We actually want to do this from something fun and interactive like PowerApps. So we need to build a PowerApp. Oh, let's actually put this into a dashboard too. XRM Virtual. Okay. And I want new dashboard. Okay. So we want a PowerApp to not use PowerShell. Didn't I just pin that to here? Let's try it one more time. Oh, okay. Go to dashboard. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to PowerApps, and we're going to go out and say, give me a new one. Where's new? New apps. I want new app. This is what we're talking about. Oh, create app. Where Tito and Julie is like, I haven't actually created an application in PowerApps for 2 weeks. I wonder if they've changed the buttons on me. It used to be a big purple button down here I was looking for. Okay. Now, this is a do as I say, not as I do. I would recommend that anybody that's starting out with PowerApps, that you should probably go ahead and start by looking at one of these examples or these samples from different data sources. Since I know what I want, and I've done this a couple times, I'm going to go ahead and start with the blank app. And I'm going to use a tablet layout because the other one that you saw was a phone layout. And we can change that back and forth. And I want to skip this. So this app was really, really simple. Let's go out and take a look at it. The one that we had. So favorites was this one. Can I bring it up in a separate one? No, it's not going to let me do a separate tab. Let's go out and bring this up in a separate tab so that way I can have it in both places. Okay, so here's our Power App, and it has a text button here, or sorry, a text box here of the contestant's name, a text box there for the score, and a button. That's all we need is those three things. So let's go back here. Go back to our Power Apps, I think the one we're doing. So what did we decide? We needed a big button. Controls, and here's a big old button. And we'll put the big old button right here. Okay. And what else did I say? We wanted a text input, and I think we want the first one to be the person. So we probably want to go ahead and say who. And I'm just going to reuse this, Control V, and I'm going to put how much. Again, this could have been ordering something. It could be keeping a score. What we do with the data is actually up to Flow to decide. And CV. Control C, Control C, and Control V. Okay, our Power App is done. Doesn't do a whole lot, does it? If I click on this, it doesn't do anything. So what we want this button to do is to take this into who and put this into how much. Probably want to go ahead and put in the how much 0 by default or something like that. And enter person's name. Or we could do even fancier. Go out and default with the person that's logged in and full name. So when I hit enter there, it should actually say like Charles Sterling or whoever I am. There I am. Okay. So, but this button needs to push it across. Okay, you guys who are still awake with me. Yeah, so the app in a day. I used to actually wire up the app in a day, but people haven't taken it, didn't have enough context about the order entry and put that into a report. But that is actually an awesome training, especially if you want to learn CDS with the new improvements. So how do you think I'm going to take this information using this button and push it into Power BI, guys? I know we didn't talk about having a test, but Marius, you can go out and reuse the same words. I don't know, and I'll get back to that one. I just want to make sure that people are there. Michael's Logic Apps. Yeah, you can certainly use Logic Apps. Marius doesn't know yet. Since the title of this user group is how to use Power BI, Power Apps, and Flow, there's a hint there. Anyways, so let's go ahead and actually show you how you would do that. So under Action, there's a button that says Flow. There you go. Sarah knew. Way to go, Sarah! And then it looks like this one actually doesn't have a lot of flows in it, which is usually kind of strange because usually my tenants have a bunch of junky flows laying all over the place. So it must be a prod tenant that I'm polluting, which is always a lot of fun. And I've clicked this one that says Create Flow. Now, let's not do it this way. Again, you know how I do these do as I say, not as I do's. In this case, we've actually started halfway through the flow value chain. I would actually start with my flows. So let's just go ahead and leave that one and go out and say, I want a new one. So create from blank, create from template. This case, I'm going to show you the create from templates because there's couple hundred. I think there was 300 last time I checked. And these are things that you guys can go out and add. So if you ever wanted to go out and, I don't know, maybe add to Will every time Donald Trump tweets. I don't know if there's something that is quite that specific. No, there's nothing that specific. But if I go out and do look at tweets, there probably is something that is aligned with that. So there's all the ones that if there's a tweet, put it in a OneNote, or if I get if I have a SharePoint entry, go out and add a Twitter at that point. Or actually, I use this a lot. If I go out and put something on my blog, I also let people know on Twitter. So do look at these. These are awesome. These are great. Once again, we are going to go out and start with a fairly narrow flow. So I'm going to do create from blank. Don't do this. And I'm going to go out and say search from specific triggers. So once again, it's trying to walk you through. These are the triggers that most people do, like when a tweet happens or when a feed's posted or when something happens in Dynamics, a record's been created, then run it. In this case, it is when a button gets pushed. Now you'll see that if I type in button, that there are lots of different types of buttons. Oh, actually, I expected lots of different types of buttons because there's BTN, which is a mobile button that you can launch a flow from. There is BUTTON1, which is another one, but there are other types of buttons, and I expected triggers for a bunch of those to show up, and we could go back and look at why. But in this case, we are going to create or initiate our flow when we click the PowerApps button. And if you want to know about the other buttons, I did a webinar on just buttons and flows. So kind of fun stuff. So now that I've got this button on there, I want to add a step or an action. In this case, it's really easy. We're going to take the data from our PowerApps and we're going to put it into our PowerBI data set. So when I type in PowerBI, it should go out and say, here's your connectors, add rows of data set. And the workspace, you remember us creating one called XRM Virtual? That was the first thing I said. So these are directories. There we go. So if I scroll down, I should find one called XRM Virtual. Here we go. And the data set is that XRM Virtual real-time streaming data set. And the table is always real-time. That wasn't something we filled out. It's just that came through. And now what Flow's done said, hey, what columns do you have? Well, and where are you going to get this data? Because I could have brought in this data from a Twitter or SharePoint or somewhere else. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and populate it from PowerApps. So I'm going to say, I'm going to ask for that in PowerApps. And the score, I'm going to ask for that in PowerApps. And the win, yeah, well, we'll just make it easy. We'll get them all from PowerApps. And the source here. Okay. Maybe we'll come back and make a tweet about this as well. But let's get this working. Declare success, and then we'll come back and start playing with it. So at this point, let's go ahead and title this as XRM. I want to type XRM Virtual Flow. Save that. Now, if I go back to my PowerApps, I need to hit the refresh button. I want XRM. I thought there was a refresh button right here. All right, one more time. Flows. No, oh, here it is. It just automatically appeared. Okay. And it's adding it to the button press event. Here I'm speaking like a .NET developer. The action for the button of press, and it's going out and saying, in order to run that flow, you need to give me a person. All right. So the person's probably that text box one. Is it the first text box? Text input one. There we go. Okay, and it turns green saying that this is the right one, and we have a dot text. So that's the property we're going to pull out. And then the second one is it says you need to give us the score, and I'm guessing that one's called text input. What's this one called? Oh, it's 1_1. underscore. And why are you not helping me? I want you to help me. There it is. Text. Okay, what's the third argument? When. So the when, let's just be lazy and say now. I think that's enough. And source, this one's going to come from PowerBI. At this point, I should be able to run this and give myself 20 points, or 19 points in this case. And I should be able to go back here and hit, oh, there it is. Oh, so what is this doing? This is actually giving me the sum. I don't know that I want the sum. I think I want the last value or the average. Probably want the average. So let's click on these, change this to average. Edit the report. And score is going to be the average. So that way I can know what were the average number of scores coming in. But in the dashboard, I probably want something that looks a little bit better. So let's pin that and go to dashboard, save, get rid of these, delete, delete. And on Power BI dashboards, there's a special kind of tile that doesn't require that refresh. So if I go out and do add tile, custom streaming, and then click here, and of all of my data sets, which one do I want to use? Well, I only have the one, so that one's an easy one. And I want to make this one probably a bar chart, whatever. I think. And of the value, I want to do the, axis. I want the person. And of the value, I want to be the score. No, I want the score. No, I want value. What am I doing wrong? One more time. Go away. Okay. This is my score. There we go. And I don't want you there. Okay, so Charles Sterling's got 19 points. Didn't we do one earlier? We had like A.111 from PowerShell. We did. I wonder what happened to that one. We should have actually had other scores in there. That's okay. We'll figure that out in a bit. And we're going to hit next. And we don't need to fill out any of these. Okay. So now, if I go back into my PowerApps, which is this one, and we go out and give Julie, we give her 100 points, so we keep promising Julie. And we go back into my Power BI report. And I shouldn't have to hit refresh here, guys. It should actually automatically pull this up. Let's go ahead and force that and see what's happening here. Oh, so this is actually not bringing in the individual values. So we need to go out and see if I can edit the details. And should be this. It's like we haven't actually done the retain historical analysis in that data set. So if you see this problem where you're only looking at like the last value or whatever the case is, one thing to check for is you going out, taking a look at that data set and editing it, and it should be on. This should be working out okay. Let's go out and add it as a legend and see if that will help. I want to do it here. And we are looking at dashboards, XRM. This one, edit. This is the nice thing about having one already done is that apply and go out and give Sarah. She gets 50 points. She's almost as good as Julie. And we're going to go out and back in here, and hopefully we're actually going to see a Sarah without having to do a refresh. So something's not quite working quite right. We should not have to, in these real-time streaming data sets, actually ask it to do a refresh. The fact I'm doing that means there's a problem with the service in the back end. So it knows about Sarah. It knows that there are other values, and it's just not displaying them. Let's continue going forward and wiring up the PowerApp into the dashboard, and we'll see if it starts working right. Otherwise, we'll do some forensics and go out and take a look at the one that I had working earlier and see what I did wrong. I obviously missed a step somewhere. So how do you actually get the PowerApp in here in this big empty spot? Well, I'm going to go back to that report, and I'm going to edit the report, and we're going to add a custom visual. And actually, let's do it from the marketplace. I usually do it from my file system, and that's not a good place for you guys to get in the habit of doing. So I'm going to go out and type in PowerApps. I'm going to add that. And I can go ahead and add my PowerApps. And it says, what fields do you want to bring across? In this case, we're not really having them interact much or at all. But once I go ahead and bring in like score and person and whatnot, it's asking which app do I want to actually embed. At this point, it's going out and giving me an entirely different order of apps than what we're looking at. And the reason being is it's looking at the default environment, but we were probably looking at one of my production ones, and we need to find, oh, I know another problem that we had is this PowerApp has never been saved. So it's going out and saying, which one do I want to add, but it literally has no name yet. So let's go ahead and call this one XRM Virtual. And this is where we would actually set that screen size. Remember how I set this one to be portrait landscape? If I wanted to set it this way, I could change it here and maybe do it 4:3. That's good. Advanced settings, I could go out and start changing some of the characteristics of my app. I usually will go out and change the icon. And I don't know, probably not a good idea just to get random JPEGs that I don't know what they are. So let's actually go to my pictures, and it looks like there's one called Hawaii. Let's see if I can use that one. Oh, nice. Oh, that's actually a picture from your vacation, Julie. That's when I said bad things about you because I wasn't there. Okay, now let's go ahead and save this. Hit save again because you really need to save it in PowerApps. And it's going to ask, do you want to publish this and make it available to places like Power BI? Share this app. I'm going to share it with my entire organization, but in this case, all I need to do is share it with myself. Save. And now, if I wonder how the heck I refresh this. Back. Let's go out and say this. It will enumerate those, choose an app, and that says what I want. I actually just wanted to force it to re-enumerate. There is my Hawaii picture. Choose add, and let's go ahead and skip that and run this and see if we can't get, oh, we need to pin this. And I want to pin it there. Go to dashboard, save. Okay, now let's see if we could get Maria some points. Obviously, we need to actually stretch this out a little bit bigger too for that form factor. And I've got the wrong size because I made it a mobile view and I'm just laid it in tablet format. There we go. And I want it to be narrower to use that space. Narrower. Perfect. Doesn't look all that great, but you get the idea. And Marius, I just gave 0 points. Let's go back and edit this one more time, and then we'll go out and figure out what I've done different. Was it a bar chart? Add value. I want the axis to be a person, and I want the value to be the score. And apply. And enter. and no value. Okay, one more time, and then we'll go back and figure out which one I chose before. Person, value, score, apply. Probably would help if I got new values. Clearly, if someone actually could identify the problem before me having to go out and figure it out what I've done wrong, you get extra points. We'll give you 1,000 points. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back out and take a look at, I want the dashboard itself. Dashboard, scoreboard. We are going to go ahead and open that scoreboard up, and we're going to choose edit details, and the details are, no, not edit details. I want to edit. Oh, hang on. This is actually a report here. Oh, so the real-time streaming data tile only is bringing in the last value. So I needed to do it in the report. Okay. That's what I did wrong. So the real-time streaming data tile, but that also brings up an interesting point, is that in a report, those visuals have to be refreshed. Once you pin a report visuals to the dashboard, they are actually going to start behaving differently. So this is using direct query, and usually direct query takes about 15 seconds to go back and get those results. So, like I said, been a couple of weeks. We're going to go back into the XRM virtual workspace. We're going to go into the XRM virtual report. We're going to edit that report, and we're going to make this one the right size. I don't want you, but I do want to resize you. And a little bit bigger, apparently. There, perfect. Okay, so I'm going to go out and add a, no, not what I wanted. Come back. So you can see there was actually, it tried to work right there. If I go out and say the axis is the person, the score is the value, there we are. There's that AAA person, there's the Julie. We could go out and pin this, save my report. Apparently I haven't saved it. XRM real time. And I want to put this on XRM, pin, go to dashboard, get rid of my effort that I was playing with, delete tile, put that up there. And now we could go out and give, who else was helping me? Lynn Za was present. And we're going to go out and give Lynn 20 points. What we should see is Lynn showing up and the average score across the board. And you'll notice that these are happening at different times. This one actually should come in faster. No, this is actually coming from the report. This should come in faster. So let's go back and add that one again. But this time we'll actually do it as a card, and I will actually just show you score. All right. So this is showing me the average of all those. This is showing me the last one. So if I go out and one more time, put Jason in here, because Jason is also on the call, and we give Jason, he's been a naughty boy, so we're going to give him -10, -120 apparently. And you'll see that the score came in before the average. This is using direct query against the implementation happens to be an Azure SQL Azure instance, but you know, notice I didn't create one. I just used the real-time streaming data set. This is used in Redis cache, so a little bit faster. And let's say that I wanted to not give them so many negative points and do this. Now, clearly you'd want to start messing around with these control sizes and fitting it in here correctly. But the fact that I am now collecting data and I'm putting it places and then I'm reporting on it is the important part. Now, one thing I mentioned was maybe we go out and add extra steps. So if I go out to my flow and say I want to add a new step and add an action, and I want to add a tweet to this. So if I go out and say Twitter, and I'm going to go out and say post a tweet, and the tweet text is going to be the person. So I'm going to go out and say this person space, I want it space, just got, and then the score. So yay for them. Go out and save that, and let's test it. And I will go ahead and use the data from a previous run, and we'll use the one from, I don't know, 15 seconds ago, whatever that one was, and save and test. What we should be able to do, the run failed. Let's see why. Incorrect cannot be because shared Twitter doesn't exist in available property. PowerBI. Shared Twitter. Oh, it's the account. All right. So the account that it's using here is actually seems to be causing the problem. But this is all the harder it would have been to actually go out and post a tweet as you actually are putting data into your database. Let's try one other thing. So let's go ahead and get rid of you. I want to edit you and delete, because I did want to do something else. It's somewhat interesting. Let's go out and send email, because email is just as easy as sending a tweet. So we'll go out and say Outlook. One of them is really get an email. I want just to send one. Oh, here it is. Send an email, and it's asking me to create one. So it's actually using this person, and this person's not my Microsoft identity. This is a tenant that I'm using, and it's going to wire it up to that inbox. 2, we'll send this up to chaz@microsoft.com. And that would be something that you probably want to go ahead and collect inside your PowerApps in most cases. But I would go out and say that person and the score and the source and the win. And now let's go out and save this. Hopefully this one will work. Use this run. And we didn't change the PowerApp. Oh, come on. What is going on? Send an email is the language token shared office isn't available. Huh. Interesting. This should be working. Maybe the precedence order is all we have to do. Isn't it great when you go out off-roading and find out that if you just done things in different orders, it was enough? I want this to be second. There we go. Test. Because what happens is the reason I just changed the orders, we're coercing the data types into things like numbers and date times, and that may be in the problem. Actually, let's just save it and see if what happens from our PowerApps. Where's our PowerApps? It's over here. Good. And we're going to go out and say that this is Manuel. Manuel was actually on early, and he gets 45 points, 34 points. Okay. Now, what was that in terms of order? It's the second one. So it looked like it may have run. Let's go back into my flows. Yes. Oh, let's save it if it didn't save. Hopefully I'd saved it. My flows, leave. Find the XRM. It's going to show me my runs, and you'll show that that run just was successful. And if I go back into my inbox, I should have a Manuel just got it. So it looks like it was a cohesion problem, not a problem with it. So let's take one more run at adding that tweet. And that way you guys can see this. So if I go ahead and edit this flow, new step, add action, Twitter. Post a tweet, one more chance. And I'm going to go out and say, this person got this score. And that should be enough. I want it to be above PowerApps. And I want to save that. And again, the reason the Power BI one is causing this problem is it's a preview. And I'll let the team know that it's causing some cohesion problems. Save. And we're going to go back here, and we're going to go out and add one more person. Laura is on the call. So we'll add Laura. Laura, 65 points. And so there's Laura, and we should be able to go to Twitter. And I think that account is actually being done from Van Arsdale. So if we go here and how do we find Van Arsdale? Oh, right here. How about DID? Oh, there it was. And I think that's the account it just won from. And Laura just got this score. So what do? Yeah, we made lots of mistakes. But in 49 minutes, we went through and created a dashboard, a report, wired up a ugly ass PowerApps into it, wired a flow to that to take the data from the PowerApps and put it into Power BI and Twitter and email. And if I wanted to, there's actually even a Nest thermostat. I probably could have set my temperature to the score in my house that Laura just got, or whoever. So at that point, I was going to take it and open it up for questions, unless you want me just to do random other weird. What do those machines call you build at Christmas that are overly complicated ways of like
a Rube Goldberg machine?
Yeah, we could just keep adding Rube Goldberg's activities to this, and we could go out and say, hey, can we go out and put this in? And we could try it.
So we built a random app that we have nature cameras at our house because I live in the mountains, and I call them the bear camera. So we have motion activated photos that are taken whenever there's something that's in the backyard. And so we had an app that takes those photos that get emailed to me, puts them in a Dropbox, then we analyze the content of the photos, and then it sends a notification if it sees a bear.
And does it have AI to determine who's a bear?
Yes. So it uses Azure Cognitive stuff to analyze the content of the photo to tell me what's in the photo.
Cool. I have horrible news for you. So I have a neighbor that did that too. Same thing, but he actually, even though he works on the Exchange team, doesn't have the. Why is this not resizing? And his dog went missing, and he went go out and looked at his.
And he probably had it all recorded.
And he had it entirely recorded, and it turned out some of our beautiful, beautiful coyotes that we have here decided to eat his Jack Russell Terrier, and he got most of it on the camera. You know, what are the odds?
Yeah,
and
well, I have a snack-sized dog, and she does not go outside unattended, so.
Yeah, it goes to show, you know, Jack Russell Terriers, they're hunters by trade, you know, and coyotes are hunters by evolution.
Yeah.
You know, and it showed which one won. So, anyways.
Well, there's no question who would win if it was my 6-pound dog versus even a fox. So.
Okay. So, again, in the dashboard in a day, the app in a day example, instead of actually putting this as a dashboard, what I do is I actually put the ordering application in there and then have how are you doing on the sales. So another easy example. And in that case, I do go out and do filtering. So what would filtering look like in this case? Maybe I wanted to select, instead of actually typing this person, I wanted to select from the Derek, Jason, Jonathan, Laura, Lynn, Manuel, and I wanted to select one. So I would filter down what PowerApps is going to look at as far as the who to just the people on here. And I can actually go out and right now go from Power BI. So by clicking on this, go from Power BI to PowerApps, and we are working on the opposite. So by clicking on Sarah, had I actually had a gallery that had all of my different players, it would only show me this Sarah's score or be able to add points for Sarah by clicking on it. Now, we didn't wire that up because I don't have a gallery that just displays the contestants in this case. But we are also working on it where I should be able to click on a drop down in PowerApps and constrain my report to just what I selected in my drop down. So right now you can constrain the PowerApp from Power BI using filtering. And that's what I brought those columns over for. And we're working on where you can constrain the Power BI report from PowerApps. Okay, Manuel's got a question. Where is the data persisted? It sounded like very ethereal when I defined it. Let's go ahead and define another creation point. So because I went through a lot of this very fast, and I've done this 1,000 times. So I went to data sets, and you can see that I had some other data sets here, but let's go out and create a brand new one. So this one is a streaming data set. Now at the Ask the Experts, I actually didn't create a streaming data set. I use Common Data Service for applications. So in this case, the data is only persisted, well, actually it's persisted down 3 places: my mailbox, Twitter, and this real-time streaming data set. But the Scoreboard really relies on this. And I had 3 different types of streaming data sets that I could have chosen. And I chose the one that is the simplest to use. And it's called the API streaming data set. We're going to call this one the Manuel data set. So this is where we're going to put it. And we're going to go out and say contestant. And we're going to have, once again, score. A score probably needs to be a number. And win. And that was going to be the date time. And who entered it? Maybe the enter is different. Maybe the source is different. You get the idea. So all I'm doing is just creating a table for this. And this is important. If you don't leave that on, you're only going to get the last value. Remember I had the problems where you was only seeing the last value? This is because real-time streaming data sets, real-time streaming data tiles only show you the last value. If I hadn't turned this on, the whole data set would have only retained the last value. So I'm going to go ahead and choose create for their Manuel data set. We're going to hit done. We're going to go back to my Rube Goldberg machine, and we're going to go ahead and say new step, add an action. And we're going to go to Power BI again. And we're going to go out and say add rows to data set. The workspace is that XRM one. That was the very first thing I created. And it's going out and looking at all my app workspaces. Sorry, which workspace do we want? And it's enumerating all my app workspaces. And it's doing it very slowly because it hasn't had its coffee yet. And I'm going to choose the XRM virtual, the one that I created. The data set, I now have 2 of them. The one that we created a little while ago and the Manuel data set. And the table is always this one called real-time streaming data. And it's going to go out and say, what columns do I have this time? So the contestant is, we're going to go ahead and grab person and put it there. And we'll put the score as score. And we're going to go out and say win is win. And who, we'll just put person again. And source, I think source, we'll put that one there. So now I can save that, go back to Power BI. Where's Power BI? And I can go to my reports and go go to my, oh, actually I need to do it this way. I need to go to my manual data set, and I'm going to create a report for that. And what do we want to see? We want to see the contestant, and we want to see the score, and we want to have that to be a column chart. Now, what's happening here? No data yet, Chuck. It can't show us anything that's not there. We're going to go ahead and pin that back into our dashboard, and we're going to go to that dashboard, and we're going to make this one smaller, and we're going to go out and find this one. So this is the Manuel data set that hasn't had any scores added to it, and this is the one that we've been putting in it. And we go out and ask that one question. Marius is going out and saying thank you for it. Thank you for joining us, Marius. I really do appreciate it. I love actually going out and running or helping out with these user groups. I hit button. What we should see down here is we should actually see the value of the Manuel one. And it's actually going through a bunch of different Rube Goldberg iterations. And we should see it. We should see it. And we're going to go back in there. Oh, it's locked. It's not taking me there. Workspaces. And I want this workspace, reports, ASDF, and refresh. So something's happening in my flow where it's not getting all the way through. And what you'd want to do at this point is, we're kind of at the top of the hour, is I would go back out, look at my flows, leave this one. Oh, I didn't save it. That was the problem. So I added that step, but I hadn't saved it. Oh, no, it did fail. And figure out why it failed to add rows to data set. Oh, sending email failed. Sending email at line blah, 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 blah. Cannot be evaluated because property share doesn't exist. Once again, we're having some issues with the cohesion. I'd have to take a look at those. Anyways, hopefully that answered your question. Jennifer, or Jonathan needs to drop off as well, but we are at the top of the hour, and I wanted to thank Julie a lot for letting me actually share with you some of my favorite things I love playing with. I love building these little apps and kind of wiring them up in places in ways that they probably weren't seen. And again, it doesn't take long to go from things that don't work to things that do work in production, such as the Ask the Expert app that over 1,000 people were looking at the MBAS, and I built it in one of my sprints, which is, again, a episode of Futurama. So, Julie, I'm going to hand it back to you to close and turn off the recording.
Actually, check this is Sarah. Julie had to step out for another call, but she wanted me to thank you profusely for this wonderful presentation, and I learned a lot, and I'm excited to start playing with this as well. So